about marriage equality. I don't know why they're so exercised about that. I mean, who's it hurting? And what I'm watching for is not only the clerk and his or her reaction, I'm watching for the other people in line. I want to see somebody who kind of goes, yeah, or who frowns or something like that. And if I'm seeing somebody positive, then I can say, yeah, you agree with me, or have you noticed how it's too overheated or something? Because it's bringing them along in this thing, and it's letting anybody else who hears it out there hear, oh, there are other people who think the same way that I think. And lets them start to move along. And so every one of those little public things allows other people potentially to begin to move in your direction. As particularly, you're not attacking anybody, you're not taking some human stand on something, but you're making it possible for them to change their minds a little bit.
Are you also creating a little bit of cognitive dissonance for the ones who are making a face?
Well, sometimes it might, sure, because they'll begin to feel like, hey, I'm really out of it. It looks like everybody else here thinks that this is okay, and that the people who are yes on 8 are kind of being a little inappropriate. But without attacking, remember? You want, when somebody's in contemplation, you want them, if you can tell that that's where they are, you begin to talk with them a little bit of asking them about, well, if you feel that way, what might you do about it? And they might say, well, I don't know, I suppose I could say something to them about it, or I guess I could tell my neighbor. Oh, and then you want to move them along and say, well, how about, in my mind, I'm thinking they ought to get down to preparation. If they say, well, I suppose I could tell my neighbors, then what you do, you can ask them, well, if you're going to pick which neighbor would you tell first, who would it be? And what you're doing is you're getting their mind going on the stages that they're going to take to change, which is to take that next step, to begin to talk with somebody. And if they say, oh yeah, I know exactly who I'd talk to. I'd talk to Mary, who lives next door. What would you say to her? How would you do it? And you are solidifying, helping them solidify themselves in that preparation phase. Because then they'll begin to process. Remember, this change process is something they own. You don't own it for them. They have to move through it. And so they're the ones that have to get that little dissonant feeling inside themselves, that ambivalence. They have to start preparing to do something different. They have to take the action. While people are in this sort of contemplation and preparation phase, typically what's going on is they're thinking a lot about things. And they're looking around for cues, informational cues, but emotional kinds of cues from their environment that say, this is okay. Or, well, maybe if I did this, how bad would it be? I guess I wouldn't feel that terrible about it. You know, it's that kind of internal adjustment kinds of things that are going on. By the time a person gets down closer to the preparation and action phase, then the kinds of things that are going on for them are that they begin to look for concrete supports. And this is changing things that they read. I mean, they may pick up a copy of Newsweek and it says, the religious case for gay marriage. I mean, before they may have tossed this magazine aside, and now they say, oh, I guess, well, let me read it and see what they have to say. And so they begin to pay attention to different things, to get different inputs. They may talk to different people than they would have talked with otherwise. It's a good time for you to say, you know, there's going to be a talk down at the church that I go to, and they're having something on Sunday afternoon. And would you want to come with me? Because it should be pretty interesting. They're talking about something having to do, whether it's having to do with marriage equality or some other topic that might help open their minds by giving them some more facts. And so, but you're providing a social support for them and helping them go into a setting where they can then begin possibly to have their minds move even farther. As they begin to talk about the things that they're going to do for their changes, support them. Be enthusiastic. hey, that sounds like a good idea. Let me know how it goes. You know, if you talk to your neighbor Mary, let me know how it goes and see what she says. And if something good happens, they try taking an action, celebrate it with them. Well, you made it through that one, didn't you? That's great. So you got somebody else in mind for the next one? And, you know, you're helping them get ready to prepare for the next one, but you're also celebrating the fact that they did this, and they need that kind of social support when somebody's actually taking action. And this really happens even for something that on the outside doesn't look like an action. It's the action in their minds of relabeling themselves and what their beliefs are. And they went from being maybe one of these people who was a total believer in what they were hearing from the priest, or totally embedded in their family beliefs here. And now they find themselves mentally relabeling themselves. And that is an action step for them. I am not exactly the same. I don't agree with the priest on this. I wonder if I'm even a Mormon. Well, yeah, sure I'm still a Mormon, but maybe I don't believe in all of it. And that's a big step for somebody, you know, who's been in a really authoritarian environment. When people get into the action phase, sometimes they relapse. You know, they'll be okay on one piece of it, and then something comes and it kind of derails them, and they jump back again and say, I can't deal with this now. I won't do it. And they may not do it for 6 months, but the fact that they've been, and so they'll recycle back. I mean, some of the headway that they made back here in contemplation and preparation, they'll retain. And it'll be easier for them to go through it next time, easier for them to succeed. So don't regard, you know, this cycling back and forth is not uncommon. And don't feel like you're in despair if somebody you know has that happen with them. And finally, when they've taken action, they get down, they're maintaining things, just be supportive, give them ways to begin to relate more constructively to what's going on. It's a great time to get people to do something different, move along a little more. And one of the examples that's kind of neat is if you have somebody like let's say you go to an accountant to get your taxes done or something like that, and they say, oh, how are you, what have you been working on lately? Oh, I've been working on this marriage equality thing. There's a new coalition on the peninsula